Oh, we've got two Trevors on the screen here. Good morning, Trevor. Let me just get rid of this one. I'm going to remove one. And lovely to see you. Look how smart you look. Everybody, it's Trevor Colt. Trevor, you're looking very sunshiny, like you're going to a wedding.
I actually thought I'd make an effort, Sonia, because you're such a wonderful podcaster.
I mean, I just like him. It's not anything specific that he says. I just like him. Trevor Colt, everybody, decorated Iraq war veteran, die for Queen and country and all that. Do you feel the same way about King Charles, Trevor?
No, if I'm honest. Now, I'm not starting off by, first of all, I want to say thank you for having me on, Sonia. It's been a turbulent few days.
It has been a terrible few days. Without going into any great detail,
Yeah.
I'm absolutely aware of what Trevor is going on behind the scenes. And I will say that here he has my full backing in any way that is required to deal with this issue in the background. So
Thank you.
Let that be
Sonia,
known.
Your question. The truth is, I'm not going to say I'm anti-royalist or anti-monarchy. I used to be sort of invested in Queen Elizabeth. I thought she was amazing. I don't have the same investment in anyone else. Would I fight for king and country at the minute? No, I wouldn't, Sonia, unfortunately.
Now, we need to unpack that because I think that's a really important point, because I've seen the picture of you where the Queen is, you know, she's giving you medals. I mean, it's quite clear that you literally were prepared to die for Queen and country. Right. And I know it's a mentality. It's not necessarily something I agree with, but I think that when you feel like that, it's a really strong feeling and quite phenomenal. But you have described to me previously that Charles is a weak man. What did you mean by that?
It's no secret that I think we have all sat back and watched this nonsense unfold, this so-called Megxit over the last couple of years. Now, that's just not it. There's small things like Andrew's has dug himself a massive hole and hasn't done the royal family any favours. In the past, there was Margaret that made mistakes. We used to see Edward as being quite weak. He's now sort of being, for some reason, there's like a sun shining on him now, because, and I don't think it's down to him, Sonia. I think it's down to his wife, Sophie, who's actually the iron behind that relationship, and she puts him in good light. Again, another woman helping a man out. And when it comes to William and his wife, we see that Catherine's like the strong one in that relationship, who's helping guide him. I'm not saying it's all down to women. Let's not say that. But all I'm saying is we sit back and we have all been frustrated at, first of all, let's talk about Harry and Meghan, whenever they left the royal family and decided they wanted to go their own way and be independent, and, you know, we don't want the cameras. Each click of a camera reminds me of maybe a bullet or a gun being cocked.
Wow.
Which is what he said. And we have seen this manipulated. And whenever you have the likes of yourself and me and thousands of other maybe people that say things in the media, we are shut down and go, that's wrong. You're only saying it because you're racist. And we are seeing this happen nonstop. An award for racism. And then I never said that. So the fact that King Charles has not put a stop to this and let it continue. Now, if I was to put a little bit of common sense on this, I would say King Charles is really frustrated and angry at what's going on with his son, but he's directing his anger towards his brother. I mean, he stamped all over him in the last couple of months.
Do you feel that Andrew, for all of his own sins, is actually also getting it? It's like misdirected anger that should have been at Harry, because the headlines at the moment is Charles is sad and bewildered, becoming increasingly frustrated. How come he's only just becoming increasingly frustrated? Because, you know my opinion, I'm not a royalist, but it is clear to me that what Harry is doing is damaging to the royals. So I don't understand why he's given such free rein to do it.
Well, he's actually imploding. We are seeing everyone walk away. Whenever they first left, truthfully, I think we can all admit that they could have been global superstars. They had everything at their feet. They had all these brands down to jump at them. But then they started releasing rubbish and making up stories. And then they just directed their hate towards the royal family. Now, I know and you know, Harry's got no educational value or experience in or knowledge in any other thing in the world other than he can tell tales about his family. And everyone wants to hear the tales behind the scenes about the family. So he's basically monetized. He's monetized his lies and stories about his own family. And we're all looking at him going, this is terrible. This is like someone in your family going, and we said this in the kitchen this day, and I wrote it down, and my sister hates this. And
it does feel very prying, actually. I must be honest. I would have more respect for him if he told those tales and then said, I don't want any of the titles. I won't be trading off the royal family. But the reality is he tells those tales and then trades off the royal family, his association with the royal family. So it's insane.
Yeah, I would have more respect for him if he told the truth and said he had Special Forces support group.
What does that mean? Special Forces support group. What's that about?
Well, when Harry left camp in Afghanistan to go on patrols, he didn't just go on patrols like an ordinary soldier. I mean, he had every asset under the sun assigned to his detail. He had a Special Forces protection group would leave camp before him and do the patrol he was doing before him to make sure it was safe for him to go out and do that patrol. And then he lies about being on the front line and this is where my sort of disgust towards him comes. He then comes back and says, well, you know, I did this and I did this with the Taliban. You couldn't even fly an Apache. Someone else had to fly it. You control the buttons. Don't lie. So my disgust comes from the fact I used to like Harry. I'm going to be honest. He could have been he was doing so well in the veterans community. He could have been like a Tassar. He could have been awesome. But then he turned his back. Now, if you see all the things he's done since he's left, how much money has he given to a UK veterans charity? Not a penny. Not a single penny.
So you're saying that the whole idea, because I know you've talked about it before, but you're talking about deeper now. You're saying his time really in the army was about performance. It was performative.
It was based on the media. It was based, his time in the army was put out there for the media to try and get him away from the fact that the minute you take away the royal protection team around him who look after his media, his PR, the minute you take that away from him, you can see that he's utterly useless at life. He needs people around him to guide him.
Right.
And now,
and I can see why a former soldier would have a problem with all this. Absolutely. Same way as I can't stand people pretending to be journalists when they're patently not. So I completely get your position on that. Really, I do. And so what about the veterans charities? Because we know that many homeless people are veterans.
Yeah, well, the homeless factor. Well, Johnny Mercer has made a promise that he's going to end that this year. He said that was his words. He's going to end it this year. Do I believe he can? I believe if he kicks the right people up the backside, he can get the funding for it without a shadow of a doubt. But Sonia, Johnny's just one MP. Now I used to give him stick, as you know. I would always be on his back, but it wasn't the fact I didn't like him. It was the fact that I was pushing the position he represented with veterans, and I'll always do it. But for him to say that, that's one hell of a bold thing to do. However, had Harry have went in the right direction, he could have helped bring in funds to solve this.
Right. What did you think about Harry last week at the hacking trial? Obviously, I think hacking is absolutely abhorrent, no matter who it involves, etc., etc. What do you think about his appearance?
Sonia, you know what? I hope he wins it, and I'll tell you why I hope he wins it, because it will set a precedence for every other celebrity and everyone in the world that goes, well, I don't have evidence, but I believe that he said something nasty about me and I want compensation. So basically, he turned up to court with 140 notes, which is his opinions. I believe this happened. I believe not one shred of evidence, and was laughed at. In fact, I think on 14 occasions when he was cross-examined and he was asked about this, he went, I have no evidence. Okay, so do you believe that they did this? I don't know. He said, I don't know 14 times. And if he didn't know the answer, he said, I'm going to refer that to my legal team. I mean, it's just utterly nonsense. But if he does win it, it means that we can refer to his case going, well, in my opinion, I felt threatened, so I want them to go to jail. You know?
I mean, it is really difficult, isn't it? The thing is that you have these mixed feelings, because on the one hand, I mean, I do really struggle with how I feel towards Harry. I have very mixed feelings, you know, because obviously it is that thing that we have of having seen him as a child walk behind the coffin of his mum, which absolutely is heartbreaking. But let me ask you this, Trevor, because they're saying in the some people, not obviously. Mick says, I honestly believe that the royals hate us. Crone is talking about it being a distraction from the rest of the family, who folk really should be looking at, in my opinion, says Crone. Do you feel that Harry is a distraction? to take away from the misdeeds of the rest of the family?
If anything, he's got an obsession. He does distract us from real news, if I'm honest. There's a lot going on out there which could do with our undivided attention. And we're being sucked into these things like fake car chases and all these different things and podcasts. And she's the #1 podcaster in the world. And Joe Rogan goes, really? I've had 50 million views every podcast. She's had 2. Right. How does this work? So we are seeing that they've got a great PR team. I mean, an awesome PR team. For them, they think they've got an awesome PR team, but they just keep putting out nonsense. So we are being distracted by the nonsense. And if we talk about it, and we have a big audience, for instance, if Sonia, if you had 10 million followers on here and you spoke about this all the time, you would find that you would be mass reported. You would be mass reported by bots.
Some people don't want me to talk about this at all, but the fact is that I don't consider anything particularly taboo, and certainly not this issue. Harry addressed the issue of paternity last week, which has been a long-standing issue. We all know what people say, and that is that his father is James Hewitt, who Diana had an affair with. Have you ever made any comment about that?
Have I made comment about that? I've never made comment about that publicly. Behind the scenes, sitting with soldiers in barracks. I mean, everyone would say that. Go back to your real dad. So that's said behind the scenes, but no, I would never say that publicly because, first of all, I've got no evidence. I don't know if that's true. They certainly look like each other, but Harry's own admission says he spent all the years up until he was 30 believing that he was James Hewitt's son, and that's from his own words. We're talking about a guy here who joined partnership with the company to get rid of misinformation, and yet turns up to a court with 140 opinions, which is misinformation. So we have a guy here who's so mixed up and doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't know the difference between reality and what's happening outside the real world. It just seems like it's a bizarre combination.
I find it so interesting, Trevor. The thing is that you, like me, get into all manner of scrapes because you're not afraid to say it how you think it. How are you currently in terms of that? Because I know you're off of Twitter. Why are you off Twitter?
I was being trolled nonstop. I mean, I get trolled every day of the week. For the last few years, since I left the army, I get accused of fraud and theft and lying my own pockets and doing this and doing that. I've worked with several charities. There was a time when a nasty individual reported me to Suffolk Police for charity fraud. And I didn't even run a charity. So basically what I was doing is I was raising money and in GoFundMe's and Just Giving. And then I was sending that money out to the likes of Danny Greeno from the Veterans Charity and Soldiers Off the Street and Veterans in Action and all different charities were getting that money. But someone wanted to try and really damage my name. So they reported me for fraud. I ended up going to Suffolk Police and had to sit through a voluntary interview, but it wasn't really voluntary. I now know that because they say, come down for a voluntary interview, Mr. Cole. But the minute you go through those doors shut, you're not getting back out. You've got to sit there and go through it. So I had to sit there and we went through it. They went through my Just Giving pages. They had to phone up all the different charities. It took a year's investigation, Sonia, and the stress that gave me on top of PTSD was enormous. So eventually I got all the CEOs got spoke to, and now you got to bear in mind that when someone accuses you of fraud, from here on in, it is, well, he's been accused of fraud. Well, I have, but it was
understand.
Malicious.
Yes, absolutely. I understand exactly how it works. You don't need to. I completely get it.
It's nasty.
So where can people find you now, Trevor?
I am on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel called Just Trevor Colt MC. And I just get on there and like you, I sit there, I have a morning rant, I have an opinion. I've now reached a stage in my life now, Sonia, where I will invest my time into an individual. And the minute they do something nasty, I don't even ask for an explanation. All I do is shut the door, put the padlock on, and I move on.
Absolutely. And that is the way to do it, everybody. This is Trevor Colt, who's not afraid to say how he finds it, whether you like it or not. Trevor, take good care of yourself. Have a good week. God bless you.
Thanks for having me on. Have a great day.
Thank you. Take care.